Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guest, Michael Gelb, and he's here today to share with us his new book, Mastering the Art of Public Speaking: 8 Secrets to Transform Fear and Supercharge Your Career. Now, many of you know Michael. He's a world-leading authority on the application of genius thinking for personal and organizational development. He is a pioneer in the fields of creative thinking, accelerated learning, and innovative leadership. Michael leads seminars for organizations such as DuPont, Microsoft, Nike, and many other top household brands. He brings more than 30 years of experience as a professional speaker, seminar leader, and organizational consultant to diverse international clientele. So let's welcome to the show, Michael Gelb.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you.
What an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. And you know what? You've done so many other, books, and you've got great information out there. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, my work over the years has focused primarily on helping people think more creatively and be more innovative. So my best known book is How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci. And I followed that with Innovate Like Edison and Discover Your Genius, because it always seemed to me that the ability to come up with new solutions was probably the most important thing that any of us could learn. So I focused on teaching that mostly in companies and all kinds of organizations, also in schools, and then writing books about it to make what I was learning accessible to as many people as possible. And besides being an author, I actually work with organizations to try to help them apply creative thinking and innovative leadership to real life challenges. And it turns out that if you're going to make your creative idea come true, you really need to know how to give an engaging, compelling presentation. So mastering the art of public speaking is one of the critical skills to make your dreams come true, whether it's your own personal dream or a dream or vision for an organization, whether it's a profit-oriented company or a nonprofit. Translating from ideal to reality requires public speaking.
You know what? I have to just applaud you because you can think, I'm just kind of thinking about all these different companies and while they're so creative and innovative, being able to communicate that idea to, their sales team or their company, wide, I'm sure they're reaching out to you going, hey, how can we better position this and position ourselves in order to present this in a way that people really get behind it and understand?
Well, that's what happened is my clients started asking me for help. I'd help them generate all these great ideas, and then they say we have to get other people to support us. And I had been working on my own skill as a presenter for many, many years, and I started sharing with my clients what I had learned myself as a result of being I've actually been a professional speaker. Actually, I like to get paid by the word or the syllable, but it's usually by the speech. So this has actually been a major aspect of my profession, was how to do this myself, and I've been focusing on how to improve my ability to speak and present for many, many decades now, and it was natural to help my clients, and clients really seemed to benefit. They loved it. So had to put it in a book.
Well, I understand, and we're not going to name names here, but I understand also that you kind of help some of Hollywood's who's who in being able to be better speakers. And, a lot of times you'll have actors reach out to you And I found that really fascinating because a lot of times when people think of actors, like, well, they've got that down. They don't need help.
It's one of those surprising things that people who seem so magical on stage or on screen or just in a business context, walking up in front of the meeting, everybody has their anxieties, their fears, their worries, their stresses, and their tensions. But those who are able to consistently perform at a high level learn how to take those butterflies and, as I like to say, get them to fly in formation. So it's if you think of it, it's energy. That stage fright is a form of energy. It's excitement. And if you relabel it from fear and terror and anxiety and just relabel it as, wow, I'm really excited about doing this, it starts to transform your experience. And it's just one of the many, many simple, powerful, transformational secrets in the book.
So we probably have listeners that are going, okay, well, I'm not a CEO of a company and I'm not in Hollywood. So would these skill sets apply to me?
Well, let's see. Do you have kids? Are you in the PTA? Do you want to help save local wetlands? Is there a cause that you care about? Do you ever anticipate that you will have a friend who will get married and you'll be asked to speak, or there'll be a eulogy for someone? So this is a life skill, and it makes life more beautiful and more joyful when you feel like, wow, I can actually speak at this wedding or this funeral or this PTA meeting or this environmental group session or this new entrepreneurial venture that I've always wanted to do, that I can get people engaged, I can get them inspired, and most importantly, I can communicate my message, whatever it happens to be, in a way that people will be able to translate into positive action. So it's a wonderful ability. And yes, of course, because people are frightened or think, well, maybe that's not for me, instead of cultivating the ability to do it, they avoid speaking. So they get worse at it as time goes on, and I want to help them get better. And it's the good news is the better you get at it, the easier and more fun it becomes. And the more influential you become in life, the more important it is to be a really strong public speaker. And your ability to become more influential in life is largely dependent on your skill as a public speaker. So, let's say you do start your company or lead the group to make the difference in the world that you want to make. You become successful, then speaking becomes even more important, because the senior people I do work with, it's interesting, they can delegate their writing to other people. And a lot of times I help them with their writing, with blog posts and preparing their speeches. But you can't delegate standing up in front of other people. So if you want to be more influential, this is a simple and powerful skill that everybody can learn. And I've seen people, it's great. It's particularly satisfying when people who are introverted, who are fearful, transform into confident speakers. And what's great about this is not just that they now have this very useful skill, but it really helps them with their self-confidence, and that translates into many other benefits in their lives.
What an empowering way to live life, where you're able to stand up and really speak what it is that you're thinking, regardless if it is at a PTA meeting or in front of a huge crowd. And I think that is something that people could take away and teach other people throughout their lives as well.
Very much so. And we teach not just by formally teaching, but by who we are, by our example. And it's a wonderful example when someone launches into learning something that doesn't come easy for them, and then continues to study and practice and improves, and all of a sudden they're kind of good at it. And we all know people who've done that sort of thing, and you look around and you say, wow, that is so cool. I'd like to do that too. So, I always want my students to be that person.
Well, and they're probably wanting to be like you, right?
Well, that's why I take it really seriously to really practice what I write about and what I teach. So what's really fun about Mastering the Art of Public Speaking is the book's filled with stories, and they're just stories from my own real experience or from the experience of clients who I've helped improve their public speaking.
What is one story you'd like to share with us right now, in regards to just public speaking and being able to overcome?
Wow, there's so many. Okay, I'll tell you one. So I was invited to be the keynote speaker at this big corporate conference, and it was a communications company, ironically. And this was for all of their advertising and PR and communications team members, about 400 people in a big hotel ballroom. And the message that they were trying to communicate in this conference, I still remember the theme of it was, "You will take us there." And the idea was that these people, the people in the audience, were going to make this big new plan that the honchos had come up with into a reality. So they were trying to inspire these people to buy in to this new advertising campaign. And this was a big deal. This is a $50 million advertising budget, and they were shifting it from their old advertising agency to a new agency. So it was a really big deal. And they hired me to give a inspirational speech. And I'm not making this up. I had 8 minutes. It was one of these carefully scripted corporate things. And it's on this big stage. And I got there, and I always try to arrive early, assess the situation. And I was looking at it, and I've always looked at these sorts of things, and I thought, like the kid who sees the emperor has no clothes on. I just asked, what's wrong with this picture? And they were planning, the audience was going to be in the dark. The stage was like Mount Olympus. It was way up there. All the lights and the spotlights were going to be on the honchos on the stage. And they had these podiums that had this electric button, and you press the button up and it makes the podium go higher. You press the button down, it makes the podium go down. So I had planned my remarks, but I did some improvising, and I went to the audio visual crew, and I told them what I was going to do so that I wouldn't shock them. And I asked them to start with the lights completely dark on the audience, which is what they were planning anyway. And I started by sitting in the back of the audience. And then when I was introduced, I walked up in the dark, and I just had them put one spotlight on me. And I went up behind the podium, and I started to speak in my best imitation of a kind of boring corporate big shot.
Oh boy.
And as I did that, I pressed the up button on the podium. And as I was saying, so it can feel sometimes that you're in the dark, and that there's this huge block between you and everyone else, and between you and the customer. And as I did that, I kept pressing the button on the podium until you couldn't see me at all. And then I said, but let's move out from behind these blocks. Let's get rid of these obstructions and really make a new connection with our customers and the audiences that we serve. And I walked out from behind the podium and I had them turn the lights on in the whole room. I said, because it's you who really will take us there. And the people went crazy. I got a standing ovation, most money I ever made for 8 minutes.
Wow. That's amazing. But it's all about that connection. And man, you do it so well.
Well, here's the thing is, I am a real professional. It wasn't just that I made money for 8 minutes. That's the most money I ever made per minute. That's the real thing I wanted to say. But my point is, you don't have to do stuff like that unless you're getting paid a lot of money per minute to speak. But the point of that story, besides the fact that it was fun, is to tune into the stage setting that you're on makes a really big difference in how your message is received. And one thing professional speakers do that everyone can do, even if you're in just, let's say now you're doing Zoom meetings with people, set your Zoom stage so that it looks professional, so that it's the image you want to project, because all presentations, including business presentations, are theater. They're either bad theater or good theater. So why not make them good theater? And one of the first principles of good theater is the stage is important. The setting is important. And you want to set your stage so that you feel comfortable in it, but so that it's also welcoming and inviting to the audience. And then they feel more comfortable. And here's one thing we know. We know that when people basically feel that they like you, they're more open to being influenced by you. And if you're thoughtful about setting the stage, whether it's a conference room or a Zoom room or a more formal presentation, the audience may not notice it consciously, but they feel it. And they also feel, somehow they get more of a sense that you are in command in a positive way. They feel that somebody's there who's in charge and knows what they're doing. And this can be as simple as, I see this all the time in a conference room or now on Zoom meetings, people are even doing this. They have a flip chart up or a slide up with the notes from a previous presentation. So you're attempting to deliver your message, but everybody's looking at the flip chart behind you or the PowerPoint slide with someone else's notes on it. So professionals would never let that happen. And that's a simple, practical tip that non-professionals can apply to master the art of public speaking.
So I understand that you have a love for martial arts. What are some parallels that you've seen between martial arts and public speaking?
Well, the most powerful one is that if you have a strong and clear presence, you don't have to fight. Nobody wants to mess with you. So, if your body language is apologetic, people want to mug you. If your body language is arrogant and stiff, people want to mug you. If your body language is natural, upright, poised, and present, people don't want to mess with you. And this, by the way, this is not just my speculation. There's a study that I cite in the book that was done here in the New York, New Jersey area, where they watched people walk down the street. They videoed them, and then they showed the videos to convicted muggers. And they asked the muggers to rate the muggability of the people walking down the street. And the muggers said that they chose as targets people who seemed frail or not paying attention or bent over in some way. Just like hyenas will pick out the wounded antelope. But they also, interestingly, the muggers also wanted to mug people who walked with a stiff or arrogant gait. It just inspired their aggression. But when people walked down the street like they knew where they were going, upright, poised, present in the moment, the mugger said, I just wouldn't bother that person. There's too many easier targets. Same thing happens when you walk into a conference room, onto a stage, or even in front of a Zoom screen. I was doing a coaching session for a CEO in a very challenging situation with the founding chairman of the company, the biggest investor, and another consultant advisor to the company. And the theme of the whole meeting was really, would the CEO be able to handle this, the investors, the board, the challenging situation in the company? Was he going to rise to the occasion and be able to meet these challenges? And I had coached him beforehand to be poised, to be upright, aligned around the vertical axis, to get a little smile in his eyes, and to be contactful and connect with everybody on the call. And it was really cool to see he just maintained this upright, poised, but relaxed stature throughout the Zoom call. And people talk about what's executive presence. Well, part of it is you're not scratching your nose all the time or sucking your thumb.
Oh boy.
I mean, people do all these unnecessary gestures, and they collapse, or they get really stiff, or their shoulders go up over their ears, and then people want to mug you. But if you leave out the unnecessary, and this is what we train to do in martial arts, also in the Alexander technique, which I introduce in the book, which is the methodology for developing stage presence that's taught at the Juilliard School, the Royal Academy of Music and Art, and many of the finest performance academies around the world. Alexander technique, martial arts, teach us the same simple, upright, aligned around the vertical axis, little smile, eyes alert in the present moment. And then, as we say in martial arts, expect nothing, be ready for anything.
Well, Michael, you make this all look so easy, the way that you approach it. And I think you really have this path for people to also follow, which is just phenomenal, because there's so many people that are afraid of speaking. And I was really astounded by the stats on that.
74% of Americans suffer from what's called glossophobia, which is funny because the glossa is the tongue. So they want to keep their mouth shut. They don't want to speak. It's the number one fear in survey after survey. In the book of lists, public speaking is number one. Death is seventh on the list. It means that the average person would rather be dead and buried in the casket than have to give the eulogy. But of course, if we put it to you that way, you'll give the eulogy, right?
For sure. For sure. Well, and it's, it's just astounding. It's, you have it outlined so people have this roadmap in a way that they can follow, that, piece by piece, they can start building their speaking career in a really profound way.
Very much so. Well, that's the idea too, is to make this fun, make it easy, transform the fear into excitement. And by the way, that starts, it's part of why I share the statistic about how the huge number of people who are frightened is the best place to start is to know that it's okay to feel frightened. You're in really good company. As you mentioned before, there are many well-known performers, actors, actresses, singers, musicians who have struggled with stage fright. And many of them, by the way, have been helped by the Alexander technique and by some of these martial arts practices that I share in the book. The other thing that really, really helps is to actually know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's a big deal, right?
People come to me all the time. They say, I want to write a book. I say, well, what do you have to say? And say, I don't know, but I want to write a book. Well, say, figure out what you want to communicate and then we'll talk about how to write the book. And say, I want to be a speaker. Well, what do you want to say? I don't know, but what a cool looking profession. Well, go out, have some life experiences and have something of value. See, audiences sense. Are you there to try to do what my grandfather used to call it, you're there to try to sell them a bill of goods? Are you there just foisting your own agenda on them? Or are you there because you genuinely want to deliver something that you believe will enrich other people's lives? So if you focus what you want to talk about on something that helps you feel aligned and passionate, that you care about delivering this message to the audience, then in the beginning of the book, we get people to do this really simple practice. It makes such a difference. Write down specifically what you want the audience to know. Write down how you would like them to feel, and write down what you want them to do as a result of your presentation. So if you know specifically, what do you want them to know? What's the one point, more important than anything else, at the end of your presentation? You want to make sure they absolutely remember what is the essence of your message. Make sure you know what it is you want them to know. How do you want them to feel? And this is where a lot of corporate business presentations fall down, because people think they need to be academic, data-oriented, and intellectual exclusively, and that feeling isn't important. But people actually buy on emotion, and then they justify with fact. So if you want to inspire people's minds, you've got to touch their hearts. And so, moreover, if you know how you want other people to feel, then you're going to radiate that positive feeling. And we know that emotions are contagious, for better or for worse. So you want to be careful about what you catch and spread. And finally, it seems so obvious. What do you want them to do? Or what do you want them to stop doing? Do you want them to invest in something? Do you want them to agree to something? Do you want them to stop doing something? Whatever it is, be specific. Now, this sounds like such common sense, but why did I have to write a whole chapter about helping people do this? Because fear of public speaking is so prevalent that the objective that most people have for most of the presentations that they give is get through this without embarrassment.
That's a pretty low bar, right?
What it is, though, it's a negative self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you're actually trying to get through it without embarrassment, you're more likely to be playing defense. I was watching football yesterday. There were multiple teams that went into a prevent defense, and it prevented them from winning because the other team keeps driving the ball down the field. And you have to play to win in any kind of game, and in the game of life and the game of business. You can play to win-win. That's my approach in everything. So you're winning in a way that wins more for the audience. And believe me, if you set what you want the audience to know, feel, and do before every presentation, the audience is going to be a lot happier, and you're going to be a lot happier. And it's one of the simplest but most powerful ways. What do we say? What's the subtitle of this book is 8 Secrets to Transform Fear and Supercharge Your Career. Not kidding. Really mean it. That you can see how this will happen if you shift. It's a transformation to go from, oh my God, and this is unconsciously people do, oh my God, I got to get through this without embarrassment. Oh my God, there's so many big, important people here. Oh, I have to be careful what I say. Oh my God, what am I supposed to do? That is not going to set you up for success. If instead you're thinking about the audience instead of yourself, what do I want to make sure they know? How do I want them to feel? What do I want them to do? Everything changes, and transformation really happens in that moment.
Yeah, you can just hear how that all shifts everything from being in this defensive place to really a positive place to come from. My goodness, Michael, we could talk for hours. You're such an amazing individual. I love your book. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community?
Thanks so much for asking. michaelgelb.com. That's Gelb. michaelgelb.com. We've got lots of fun, free videos and articles and blog posts at michaelgelb.com. And people can sign up there for our newsletter. And we will then keep you informed of all kinds of really fun programs that we do. We do lots of free programs. And then we also have things people can sign up for with a small investment. But come for the free stuff and then see what you want to do from there.
I think that's great. They can get into something a little bit more comprehensive from there, a little hands-on, depending on how it's all set up. But my goodness, Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
So wonderful to be with you, and you have a beautiful voice.
Oh, well, thank you, Michael. Coming from you, that's such high praise. And my goodness, it's been such a delight to spend this time with you to talk about your new book, Mastering the Art of Public Speaking. Mastering the Art of Public Speaking is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And if you don't see it on the shelf, ask for them to order it. Also, the book is available on Kindle, so you can download it tonight and get to reading. Again, if you'd like to connect with Michael Gelb, you can at michaelgelb.com for more information. And make sure to sign up for his newsletter. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary. A recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.